Where there is light, there must also be shadow. Have you ever felt the profound truth of these words echo in the chambers of your own soul? They were spoken by the great sage of the psyche, Carl Gustav Jung, and they serve as a divine key, unlocking a mystery that perhaps lives within you or someone you hold dear. There is a certain kind of soul, a unique frequency of being that you have surely encountered on your journey. It is the spirit of the eternal dreamer, the one whose eyes hold the unmistakable sparkle of nascent galaxies, a person who seems to be a vessel for brilliant, world-changing ideas and grand, breathtaking dreams. When you are in their presence, you feel a current of pure possibility, an energy that whispers they were born for something truly extraordinary, something beyond the mundane. They speak of incredible projects, of journeys to distant stars and inventions that will reshape our world. They seem to live not on the solid ground of reality, but in the boundless sky of what could be. But have you noticed the subtle disconnect, the recurring pattern? This individual, so full of divine light and potential, seems to live in a perpetual state of almost. Their grand visions hover like beautiful, unmoored balloons, never quite touching the earth to take root. They are always on the verge of greatness, but never quite cross the threshold. This video is a mirror. It is not an attack, but a sacred reflection for those who see this pattern in another, and perhaps, most importantly, for those brave enough to see it in themselves. If this message already vibrates with a deep truth inside of you, let your spirit guide your actions. Like this video, subscribe to our channel for more soul-nourishing wisdom, and share in the comments below if you recognize this journey. Type, "I am ready to see," if you feel the call to understand this divine paradox within. The tragic beauty of this soul is that for every grand vision that dissolves into mist, there is always a perfectly crafted excuse, a ready-made narrative to explain the failure. He will tell you, with a disarming sincerity that is almost impossible to doubt, that the timing was simply not aligned with the cosmos. He will explain that he encountered the wrong people, souls who were not vibrating at his high frequency and could not comprehend the magnitude of his vision. He will lament that the world, in its spiritual immaturity, has not yet evolved to a state where it can understand and receive the gift he is trying to offer. Perhaps he is that childhood friend you still hold dear, the one whose potential you have championed for years. Or maybe it's a younger brother, whose charm and brilliance are a source of both pride and deep, unspoken concern. For many, this archetype manifests in a boyfriend, a partner whose love feels like a fleeting, magical dream you can never quite hold on to. And for some, this eternal boy is their own father, a man who, despite the passage of decades, seems to have remained frozen in a state of adolescent wonder and avoidance. You are witnessing someone who, regardless of their chronological age, has somehow been stopped in the river of time. They are an adult who still carries the untamed, unpredictable energy of a boy. They are emotionally volatile, their inner world a tempest of soaring highs and crushing lows, often triggered by the slightest challenge to their idealized self-image. They are profoundly averse to commitment, viewing it not as a sacred bond, but as a cage that would ground their soaring spirit. They constantly speak of freedom, a relentless seeking of open horizons, but what they are truly doing is fleeing. They are running from the divine weight of real responsibility, from the sacred duty of building a life with their own two hands. And maybe, just maybe, there is a part of you, a hopeful, compassionate part, that still believes he will change. You hold on to the light you see in him, praying that one day he will land, that he will finally manifest the incredible potential that you know resides within. Carl Jung, in his profound exploration of the human soul, gave this psychic pattern a name, a sacred designation that captures its essence, Puer Aeternus. In Latin, this means the eternal boy. This is not merely a label for immaturity. It is the archetype of the man who spiritually and psychologically refuses to grow up. He is the one who lives in an eternal state of transition, as if he is forever preparing for the grand performance of his life, but is too terrified to ever step onto the stage and actually begin. He will enchant you. His youthful energy is a powerful current that can sweep you off your feet. His creativity seems to be a direct channel to source energy itself, and his spontaneous, carefree way of being can feel like a breath of fresh air in a world that often feels rigid and predictable. But you must understand this. There is a deep and pervasive shadow that lurks behind this captivating charm. It is the shadow of his complete and utter inability to engage with the demands, the beautiful, grounding friction of the real world. The Puer Aeternus operates from a place of unconscious entitlement. He expects the universe, and by extension the people in it, to bend and conform to his every desire. He believes that the difficult parts of life, the challenges that are meant to forge his soul into a vessel of strength, are problems that others should solve for him. Whatever he refuses to face within himself, he projects onto the world. He idealizes everything, creating a fantasy realm where he is always the hero. He dreams of the perfect woman, a goddess who will understand him without words and heal his wounds without ever asking him to look at them. He fantasizes about the perfect job, a calling that will bring him fame and fortune without requiring the discipline of daily effort. He longs for the perfect life, a state of blissful existence free from conflict, struggle, or the sacred responsibility of choice. And when the raw, messy, and beautiful truth of reality inevitably fails to match his pristine fantasies, he flees. He breaks away from the relationship. He abandons the project. He gives up on the dream. He then retreats, returning to the familiar, comfortable cycle of unfulfilled potential and pointing his finger at the world for failing him, never once realizing that the failure originates from within. He sees himself as a soul too special, too unique, to submit to the perceived mediocrity of a daily routine or the structure of a committed life. But this is a grand and tragic self-deception. The truth is, he is utterly paralyzed. He is paralyzed by the profound fear of failing, the terror of having his idealized self-image shattered by the mirror of reality. He is afraid of the frustration that comes with building something real, and most of all, he is terrified of the sacred act of growing up. If you have ever been in the orbit of a Puer Aeternus, if you have ever tried to pour your love and energy into helping someone like this, you know the bone-deep exhaustion it brings. You know the soul weariness that comes from giving advice that is heard with a nod but never acted upon, of offering support that is gratefully received but ultimately wasted like water poured into a sieve. You feel yourself trying to pull someone up from a self-imposed quicksand, someone who, deep down, doesn't actually want to move because the familiar comfort of the struggle is less terrifying than the unknown territory of solid ground. And what is the cruelest, most spiritually draining part of this dynamic? He will, with an unconscious mastery of manipulation, make you feel guilty. He will project his own inadequacies onto you, making it seem as if you are the problem. You are the one demanding too much. You are the one who lacks the vision to understand his unique path. You are the one who is not accepting him for who he is, failing to see that he is simply asking you to live with him in an eternal state of almost. But the truth, the divine and liberating truth, needs to be spoken. This man you know, this soul you love, is trapped. He is not free. He is incarcerated in a fantasy of freedom that, in practice, is nothing more than a prison of fear and profound immaturity. And if he does not awaken, if he does not hear the call of his own higher self, he is destined to grow old without ever having truly lived. This video is not meant to be an attack. It is a mirror, a sacred tool for reflection. And if you are still watching, if these words are resonating in the quiet depths of your being, it's because a part of you, a wise and ancient part, recognizes this pattern. Perhaps you see it in someone close to you, a partner, a parent, a friend, or perhaps, with a surge of courage and honesty, you see a reflection of the eternal boy in yourself. The journey of the Puer Aeternus does not have to end in the desolate landscape of stagnation and regret. It can, and must, change. But this transformation can only begin when the truth is faced head-on, with unwavering resolve. Let's talk about that now. What is the Puer Aeternus? It is crucial to understand that the Puer Aeternus is not just a simple personality type or a phase someone is going through. It is a deep, powerful archetype, a psychic force that operates in the unconscious of countless men. It is an energy that is often confused with charisma, with spontaneity, or with the admirable qualities of a free spirit. It is the vibration of endless potential. But behind this radiant, light-filled appearance, there is something much more serious, much more spiritually significant at play, an almost instinctive, primal refusal to grow up. Carl Jung, in his explorations, observed this pattern not only in his patients but woven throughout the myths and legends of history. The puer appears as the one who refuses to leave the paradise of childhood, the one who clings to the psychic womb of the mother, a symbolic space where everything is cared for, where all needs are met without effort, and where one is perpetually protected and resolved from the challenges of life. He lives in the shadow of a promise, the promise of a glorious tomorrow that never, ever arrives. In his own inner world, he is the eternal son of the gods, the chosen one, the special soul destined for greatness. He carries the frequency of someone who believes he is exempt from the ordinary laws of life. But in the stark reality of practice, he never takes charge of his own life. You have seen this archetype up close, in the world around you. You've seen the men who jump from job to job, always searching for something more meaningful, something that will finally align with their grand self-perception, only to abandon it at the first sign of real difficulty or boredom. You've witnessed the men who fall in love with a fiery, all-consuming intensity, idealizing their partner as the one who will finally complete them, but who then disappear, emotionally or physically, as soon as the relationship demands the grounding energy of maturity and mutual responsibility. You've known the men who talk eloquently about spirituality, self-knowledge, and the pursuit of freedom, but who cannot manage to pay a bill on time or maintain a simple commitment for more than a few months. And understand this, for it is vital. It is not for a lack of intelligence. It is not for a lack of talent. The puer is often brilliant. He is often deeply sensitive and full of incredible, untapped potential. He has a lively, vibrant connection to the wellspring of creativity, inspiration, and imagination. But it is precisely because of this connection to the formless realm of ideas that he struggles. He prefers to live in the realm of pure thought, of endless beginnings, because it allows him to escape the sacred weight of reality. He wants to fly, but he refuses to do the work of building his own wings. He wants love without the commitment that gives it roots. He wants success without the effort that makes it meaningful. He wants the rewards of adulthood without paying the profound and necessary price of maturity. And when the world, in its beautiful, unyielding way, does not deliver this fantasy on a silver platter, he revolts. He blames the system. He blames his parents. He blames his partners. He blames life itself. But he never, ever blames himself. Jung was very clear that the Puer Aeternus suffers from a fundamental disconnection with time. He is always living in a not now. He is always waiting for something else to happen first, the right idea, the right woman, the right phase of his life, before he can truly begin. He lives in the when, but never in the today. And because of this profound and tragic avoidance, he does not live. He merely survives, fed by a diet of dreams that, over time, become heavy, soul-crushing burdens. But there is another side to this story, a brighter, more hopeful path. Because the puer, despite his immaturity and his fear, also carries within him a force of renewal and transformation that cannot be dismissed. He is the source of inner youth, of creative imagination, of the sacred ability to reinvent life. The problem is not the boy that exists within the man. The problem is when that boy takes absolute control of the man's existence. And this is exactly what we need to understand next. When the radiant shine of the puer begins to darken, and the shadow takes control. Let us now talk about the dark side of the man-child, and how it silently, insidiously destroys everything and everyone around him. There is something undeniably magnetic, something deeply fascinating, about the man who is dominated by the archetype of the Puer Aeternus. He is light, he is spontaneous. He speaks like a poet, dreams like a visionary, and lives as if he is entirely outside of the mundane constraints of time. He does not follow the rules that seem to bind everyone else. He does not accept the labels that society tries to impose. He does not cling to anything, and for many, this is intoxicatingly attractive. He seems, above all else, to be free. And in a world that can often feel suffocating with its obligations, its commitments, and its empty routines, who among us does not desire that kind of freedom? But herein lies the trap. This freedom is a mirage. It is an illusion, a carefully constructed disguise to hide what he fears most: reality itself. The puer is not free. He is a fugitive. He flees from pain. He flees from failure. He flees from rejection, from frustration, and from the inexorable passage of time. He escapes the sacred weight of being responsible for his own life. For every choice he avoids, every decision he postpones, every responsibility he transfers to another. With each act of avoidance, he deepens his own prison, a prison that is tragically disguised as autonomy. You have seen this up close. He says he does not want a conventional job because he was born for something greater. But the truth is that he is terrified of the structure of routine, of hierarchy, of commitment. He says he does not want to tie himself to anyone, that relationships are prisons that would clip his wings. But in reality, he is deathly afraid of surrendering, of being truly seen, of being held accountable for his actions and his impact on another. He says he hates rules, but deep down, he simply does not know how to deal with the grounding presence of limits. This freedom that he sells to others, and most tragically, to himself, is in fact a childish refusal to confront the beautiful, challenging harshness of life. He wants to be eternal, light, and unblemished by the world. And to achieve that, he believes he needs to remain in constant motion, like a balloon drifting aimlessly in the wind. But time does not wait. And the real world, sooner or later, always demands a price for our avoidance. Carl Jung said that the Puer Aeternus lives in a state of suspension, as if he is always floating somewhere between heaven and earth. He does not want to descend. He does not want to root himself. He does not want to deal with the concrete, grounding realities of life. But without roots, nothing grows. Without effort, nothing flourishes. And without pain, there is no transformation. True freedom is not the absence of limits. It is the sacred ability to consciously choose what deserves your commitment, what is worthy of your life force. But the puer does not choose. He escapes. And in this escape, he not only sabotages his own life, he gradually and unconsciously destroys the very people who try to love him. And this is what we will explore now, the dark side of the Puer Aeternus, when the promise of his light turns into the destruction of his shadow. Let us dive into the darkness that this archetype carries and understand how it corrodes everything around it. In the beginning, everything seems enchanting. The Puer Aeternus shines with an energy that attracts, inspires, and envelops. He is passionate, enthusiastic, and wonderfully unpredictable. But over time, that shine begins to fade. The light begins to flicker. What was once a delightful lightness transforms into a hollow absence. What was once a beautiful sensitivity turns into a frightening instability, and what seemed like a glorious freedom reveals itself, in the stark light of day, to be nothing more than a desperate escape. It is at this critical point that the shadow of the puer begins to show itself. The shadow of the man-child is sneaky, it is insidious. It manifests in small, daily sabotages that slowly erode the foundations of his life and the lives of those around him. He forgets commitments, he misses deadlines. He becomes financially disorganized, always in a state of chaos that he frames as a noble rebellion against a materialistic world. He abruptly changes his mind, abandoning projects and people with a casualness that is breathtakingly painful to witness. He breaks promises, not with malicious intent, but with the thoughtless self-absorption of a child who is not yet capable of understanding the impact of his actions. But all of this destructive behavior is wrapped in a poetic, self-justifying narrative. I'm not ready, he'll say. I don't want to force myself. I need more time. The truth, however, is much harsher. He is afraid. He is afraid of growing up. He is afraid of making mistakes. He is afraid of being judged. He is afraid of being ordinary. So, unconsciously, He sabotages anything and everything that requires the discipline and grounding of maturity. This self-sabotage affects everyone around him. Romantic partners live the constant anguish of loving a man who seems incredible in his essence, but is perpetually absent in his practice. He says he loves, but he disappears. He says he wants a future, but he never takes the steps to build it. Family members become frustrated, watching him waste his incredible talent, his sharp intelligence, and the countless opportunities that life presents to him. Friends grow tired of supporting someone who lives in the endless cycle of almost, always on the cusp of a breakthrough that never comes. And behind all of this, there is a suffocating feeling. He seems incapable of moving forward, trapped in an endless emotional adolescence. And like every powerful archetype, the shadow of the Puer feeds on the unconscious. He does not realize that he is destroying himself, and worse, he truly believes that others are the problem. He accuses the world of being boring, rigid, and controlling. He sees those who have matured, those who have accepted responsibility and built a life, as traitors to the ideal of freedom. And so, he isolates himself more and more, trapped in the echo chamber of his own justifications, believing he is being true to his essence when, in fact, he is being a slave to his fear. Jung said that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The shadow of the Puer is not to be denied, but to be faced. The problem is not the fact that he carries the child within him. The problem is when that child becomes a tyrant, sabotaging the man's chance to live a full and real life. And this sabotage has deep, often hidden roots, because the Puer is rarely alone. Behind him, there is almost always a silent, powerful presence that feeds his behavior and perpetuates his imprisonment, the figure of the symbolic mother. In the next part, we will reveal the profound role of this hidden dynamic. We will explore how the psychic dependence on the eternal mother keeps the Puer infantilized, and why breaking this sacred, yet destructive bond is the only possible way out. No Puer Aeternus emerges from nothing. Behind almost every man who refuses to grow up, there is a silent figure, sometimes loving, sometimes suffocating, who protects him from the world but also prevents him from facing it. This figure, in Carl Jung's analytical psychology, is called the archetypal mother. And when her presence becomes excessive, she transforms into the devouring great Motherthy one who, instead of giving life, traps. This mother can be literal, a real, overprotective mother who did everything for her son, who never let him make mistakes, who always supported him in his falls, but who, in doing so, unconsciously prevented him from developing his own autonomy. Or it can be symbolic, a partner who takes on the caregiver role, a grandmother, or any feminine figure who protects, nourishes, embraces, and unconsciously demands eternal loyalty in return. The Puer then becomes a man who seeks in the feminine world not a companion, but a substitute for the mother, someone who understands him without demanding, who accepts him without confronting, who supports him without limits. This symbiotic relationship is comfortable, but it is deeply destructive because it prevents confrontation with the world. As long as he is being cared for, he does not need to act. He does not need to decide. He does not need to grow. He remains in a state of eternal emotional childhood, waiting for the women around him to resolve what he refuses to face, the call of adult life. And the symbolic mother is often trapped in this game as well. She believes she is helping, that she is loving, but in reality, she is feeding a cycle of psychic dependency that drains the vitality of both. Jung was emphatic. The greatest tragedy is when the mother refuses to let the child be born psychologically. This means that even though the body ages, the psyche remains immature, childlike, waiting for comfort instead of seeking grounding. This dynamic becomes even more serious when the Puer enters relationships. He falls in love quickly, idealizes the partner, and places unreal expectations on her, as if she were to resolve all the internal voids he himself refuses to acknowledge. But as soon as the relationship demands depth, commitment, or responsibility, he flees. He distances himself. He sabotages. Or worse, he blames the other person, because deep down, he never wanted a partner. He wanted a mother disguised as a lover. Breaking this dynamic requires pain. It requires separation. It requires cutting the psychic cord. But it is this rupture that initiates the true process of individuation. Growing hurts, but not growing hurts more. And it is exactly about this that we will talk now. The path to maturity and the inevitable price paid for leaving psychic childhood. It is time to look at the transformation process, how the Puer can finally stop fleeing and begin to build his own internal structure. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. Link is in the pinned comment. There comes a moment in life when the disguise begins to crumble. Unfulfilled dreams weigh heavily. Failed relationships leave scars. Life, once full of open possibilities, starts to narrow. And then the man who still lives under the dominion of the Puer Aeternus is forced to look in the mirror and ask, how long will I live as if I have all the time in the world? This is the breaking point. The moment when the pain of remaining immature becomes greater than the fear of growing up. But those who think that maturing is a smooth process are mistaken. Jung did not spare words in describing this path. He said that individuation, the process by which a human being becomes truly themselves, is a psychic birth. And like any birth, it is made of pain, blood, and symbolic death. The first step is to face the collapse of fantasy. It is to understand that life will not wait for you to be ready, that there is no perfect moment, that no one will come to save you. It is to recognize that the real world is not a hostile place, but rather the only stage where something true can happen, that growing up is not betraying your essence, it is building it. But for that, one must mourn. The mourning of the idealized boy, the mourning of the imagined life, the mourning of promises that were never fulfilled, and above all, the mourning of the symbolic mother. Killing the boy within does not mean suffocating your creativity, your lightness, or your dreaming soul. It means no longer using him as an excuse to escape from life. It is allowing the boy to continue existing, but now, under the leadership of the man. Maturity requires construction, structure, consistency. It means saying no when it is easier to escape. Committing even when you want freedom. Working with focus, even when inspiration does not come. Being present in a relationship, even when the idealization has already crumbled. It means trading the ecstasy of the new for the transformative power of continuity. And here lies the secret. When the Puer is integrated into the adult man, he does not disappear, he transforms. He becomes the source of creativity, vision, and intuition, but now channeled by a mature, firm psyche, capable of acting in the world. This is true rebirth. When the eternal boy stops fleeing from reality and begins to build with it. But this process is not easy, and it does not happen on its own. Many men at this point in the journey feel lost, exhausted, not knowing where to start. They know they need to change. They know the time of psychic childhood is over, but they do not know how to take the reins of their own life. And that is precisely why this video continues. Because in the next segment, we will speak directly to those who are at this point of transition, those who want to change but still do not know how. The time of truth has come, and the decision to grow is finally in your hands. If you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognizes the urgency of what has been said. Perhaps you have seen this pattern in someone close to you. Maybe you have seen yourself in every word, and there is no shame in that. None. Because all of us, to some degree, carry the temptation to remain children in a world that demands maturity. We have all run away from some responsibility, dreamed of shortcuts, and hoped that life would offer us comfort before we were ready to face it. But the truth is simple and brutal. Life does not wait. It demands, it requires, it tests. And sooner or later, you will be confronted with the choice to remain trapped in the world of promises, or to finally cross the bridge to the world of fulfillment. And this crossing is only possible when you choose to grow, not when you feel like it, not when everything is perfect, but when you decide with courage that it is time to stop running away. Carl Jung said that the person who does not confront their own demons will be condemned to meet them at every corner of life. The Puer Aeternus is one of those demons, one that hides under the name of freedom, authenticity, or misunderstood genius. But in practice, it corrodes your roots and prevents any solid construction. It will not disappear on its own. You need to face it, acknowledge it, integrate it, and above all, choose to be greater than it. Maturity is what is born when you stop waiting for someone to come and save you, and you start saving yourself. When you understand that responsibility is not a prison, but a path to power. When you realize that true freedom is not doing whatever you want, it is having enough internal structure to choose what is necessary. And now, I want to hear from you. Which part of this video impacted you the most? Comment down below. Be honest. Sometimes writing is the first step to giving shape to what you felt. And if this video made you reflect, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who is trapped in the same cycle and may not even realize it. And it doesn't stop here. The next video is just as important as this one. It will show you another essential piece of this puzzle. Keep watching. It may hurt, perhaps, but it will free you. And in the end, that is what matters. Real freedom.